I'm just going to do a quick little intro for the live folks with this. So we are live. So this is Stormfront Freaks podcast, but we call this Stormfront Freaks Raw. So if you're watching, it's either because you're catching us live, you're part of our Patreon group and our team of weather freaks that like to join us live with our guests. We always tell you to drop in a comment here in the comment section or the chat box so we know you're here. Or you happen to catch the stream on YouTube after the fact. But regardless, this is Stormfront Freaks Raw. It's the recording of the podcast. So if you want to listen to something a little more edited and structured, you'll want to listen to the podcast. We usually edit this show and make that available on all the podcast players, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and iHeartRadio, all that stuff. But this is the recording, so if you watch and listen, we always tell you sometimes have your earmuffs ready. You never know what we might say. You never know. You know, Victor's the first time on this show, so we don't know what he's going to pull that we're going to have to edit out of the show later. But that's all the fun stuff you get to see on Stormfront Freaks Raw. So we're excited, and it's Victor Gensini, correct?
Yeah, Gensini.
Gensini.
Nothing will come out of my mouth tonight that it will be worse than what I would say in the car while storm chasing. So
perfect. And then we also got Skip Talbot is back tonight, so we're excited about having Skip back on the show. He came back, so that's got to at least either he forgot what this was all about because it's been so long since he's been on. Or he had a decent enough time last time.
Yeah, I heard it's been a few years, so.
All right, and then, of course, Dan and Angela, our VIPs, were able to be on the show tonight, so we're excited about that. And guests, we got Jen Watson. Jen, how you doing tonight?
Oh my gosh, I'm good. I'm doing very good. I've got a little person. I swear, I think it's like every time we try to record the podcast, she won't go to bed. So she's coloring over there right now. So, but she's loves
already a fan of the show.
She is. She's a huge fan of the show. She literally colors thunderstorms. She loves like tornadoes, all the things. I'm training her well.
Yes, you are. Maz, Mark Massaro, we call him Maz. How you doing, Mark?
I am awesome. Having a good night. Spent too much time at Mount Carmel Brewery earlier.
Oh, really?
You
started early tonight.
Yeah. Too early.
Where is that? I don't even know where that is. I'm familiar with it.
It's off of Mount Carmel Road. So, believe it or not, Mount Carmel and Clough.
Which is where?
Between 32 and Beachmont.
Oh, it's out by your neck of the woods. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just stop
just in
home on the
case
way.
I had to walk home. Didn't, but just in case.
Serena, how we doing?
I'm good. Hanging out, chilling.
Good. Is that a beep? Was Brady made it? Brady Harris made it.
Full
right.
house. He's not quite here yet, but he's trying.
Nothing like the last minute, buddy.
Yeah.
You know me.
And we got Josh in the house.
Josh and Garrett.
And Garrett's in the house.
In here.
Yeah. That's right.
Awesome.
All right. So here's so now we got
no video or audio yet, but
he doesn't. No, I heard him talk.
You can't
Brady,
hear
you
me?
look like you've gotten a haircut. It looks good.
Yeah, we can hear
Thank
him.
you. Wait, can you guys see and hear me?
I can't hear him.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear him.
Yeah.
You can't hear Brady, huh?
Nope.
Wow. We're
Echo.
screwed. We're screwed when our live producer can't hear somebody.
Huh.
We're in trouble.
Just a minute. I'll
All right, I usually don't say
drop out
anything.
here and bring him back in, see if I hear him. I don't
I
see
like
him.
when you
either.
cut him off
was talking.
mid-sentence.
Right.
Do you see him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk,
You don't see
Brady.
him either?
Can we hear you?
Geek, JD.
Hello,
Yeah, I can hear him.
MJ.
Yeah,
Come on,
Selective
man.
listening. Yeah, that must be it.
We got him.
All right.
So
well, that
MJ
doesn't
still
matter.
can't hear him, huh? Okay.
If I can't hear him, it doesn't matter.
Should I leave and rejoin? Do you think?
Weird though.
Everybody
Very
else can hear you except MJ, I guess. So
Okay. Well, tell MJ I said hi.
All right.
he says hi.
Yes, I'm sure. Hi.
That's not what he said, Phil. You're making that much nicer than what he actually said.
Oh, man.
All righty.
So you're gonna
here-
have to help me out though when I have to bleep Brady out in the thing. I'm not gonna know when it happens. So
Okay.
Oh, this
I
is
will.
true facts.
All right. So here's a scoop. Here's what we'll do. So this is for all the co-hosts. So a little bit different tonight, not a whole lot of difference, but a little bit different because as you guys know, we've advertised this as part 1 of our 3-part series of storm training. And so with Victor and Skip tonight, the focus will be on talking about their techniques and their tools and resources they like to use, and just picking their brains is really all it is on forecasting severe weather anywhere from 30 days out, 2 weeks out, week out, up to 2 days out, right? Because then part 2 in a couple weeks, we'll talk about the day of and focusing on target, forecasting and things of that nature. But so let's at least start with questions for these guys on that kind of stuff, and might make sense to do it chronologically, so starting, 30 days out, kind of just what are the tools these guys like to look at. And Skip and Victor, I'll tell you guys too, if there's something that we didn't ask specifically about something that you're like, I kind of want to throw this in here, just throw it in. I mean, I tell people it's like we're sitting around a poker table, drinking and just talking about weather. So if certainly we don't ask a good question, throw something in there. I don't want to jump to 2 days out and we miss something really good, a week or 2 weeks out you like to use or like to look for that helps you kind of identify what's coming in the process. So,
and you don't have to say, that's a really good question. You could be like, well, that sucked as a question. What the heck?
Yeah. Hey, good question, but I've got a better one for you.
So you guys know each other, right?
We do. We've actually chased together before. In fact, Skip, when I used to teach at the College of DuPage, so I used to lead their storm chase trips.
Okay,
and,
good. I'm going to ask that as your first question.
Yes, Skip was a driver for us for a little bit.
Oh,
so
wow.
we got to spend some time on the road together, which was fantastic. I love
one heck of an Uber bill.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm at Northern Illinois University now. So I made a transition from COD to NIU, but a lot of the models page that you saw there, I had a hand in developing that, including the satellite page. And I've since left. I've left it in pretty good hands, but there are definitely things I'd like to, upgrade it. And
awesome.
It's still used, obviously.
Well, there's a good question right there.
Yep.
Is asking,
really.
Victor, what? It depends on, you ask it nice, right? Ask a nice way, like, what would you like to change because those morons aren't doing it back at COD?
Yeah. Hey,
shout out Curtis is in the house too.
Don't
Curtis,
leave any. Yeah, leave it. Put it all on the table today. I don't care.
Cool. All right. So for the freaks, you're questioning. So try and keep it chronological. So Maz, you're doing the intro, and starting with the first question.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start. 30 days outish or whatever. And I don't know, Skip or Victor, if we need to worry about more than 30 days out, how much forecasting can be done that far out. But if we can, if you guys are looking at something further out than that, we can cover that.
See, I want to ask, maybe I'll ask after Maz. I want to ask when you're like thinking about storm chasing, and obviously if you're in like December or January and you're trying to request off time from work or whatever it is, and you're just like, what time frame or what does it look like? And I know obviously it can be like up to the day before, but I would love to know, like, looking ahead several months, like for storm chasing and stuff like that. So I'll start
pinpointing to like a day, right? Like a single day.
Pinpointing to like a day.
That'd be pretty nice.
I would love to know what you guys look at even that far out. If we can do that just a little bit.
Skip, I think you're on mute.
I can't hear Skip.
Skip, you're muted.
Yeah, Skip, you're muted.
Yeah, if you guys find out, let me know because I want to know.
Maz and I are working on something, right, Maz?
That's right.
Yep.
All right.
Let me tell you something about December. If I could pinpoint a chasecation in December and tell you when to take off, I would not be a professor. I would be trading futures on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
For sure. But there are definitely things you can look at, beyond 30 days out. And again, we'll talk a little bit about the uncertainty associated with those types of products, but there are definitely things that you could help, I think, load the dice is probably the best way to look at it in regards to whether or not you're going to have a good, what we would consider peak season.
Cool.
Okay.
And that's all the time we have for tonight.
Right.
Can we get a little more volume from Victor at all? Victor, can
Sure, absolutely. Let me see if I can settings. Okay, let's see.
Can you, MJ, can you crank anything up on your end or not?
I can check.
Okay, any better?
Oh.
Any better?
He went up a little bit. Yeah.
I don't think he sounded bad. I didn't think it was that bad.
Okay.
I didn't think it was that bad, but
Okay, if that's better, then we're good.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
MJ,
With
can
the
you hear
technical
me?
producer, that's okay.
Brady, I heard you again. So yeah,
Yeah,
like I said, we're in trouble audio tonight if MJ can't hear stuff. But he's getting old, so we gotta credit some of it to.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just gotta yell, right? Just gotta yell.
All right. So I just wanted to clear that with the co-hosts, and then number 2 co-hosts, do me a favor, and when you ask the question, maybe start with, say, Skip or Victor. Don't lob it out to both of them that they're wondering, okay, who should talk first. Throw it to Skip first, and then we can say, Victor, what do you think, or what, get your thoughts on it or whatever. But make sure you're directing it to one of the two, and it should go a little smoother.
And if I say Skipter, then you guys just both take it.
That's right.
Then we know where the show's done.
All right, so here's what we'll do. I'll do the quick little pre-opening, pre-show opening that I usually do now. I'll do that quick, and then I'll come in and do the normal opening. We review Patreon, review El Niños, and then we'll do what are you drinking? So that's how we introduce our co-hosts, is we find out what are they drinking tonight. So that sets everything else up for what the show is going to be all about. We actually had a review once that said, "Is this a drinking podcast?"
Remember.
Partially.
And as soon as we've introduced the co-hosts that are on tonight, Maz, I'll turn it over to you. I'm going to do a quick. Maz, before I turn it over to you, I'll do a quick little intro about this. Is part 1 of the 3-part series on blah, 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 blah. And then you can introduce Skip and Victor and start with the first question. We'll go about 20 minutes or so, so maybe bottom of the hour, 9:30ish or so, right around there. I will make a comment in the private chat box to kind of say, hey, last question, or does somebody have a question before we go to break? And we'll take our first break at the bottom of the hour before we come back with these guys on other questions, okay? So normal routine. You guys, Skip, Victor, you guys got any questions? You good?
I'm good.
Let's do it.
All righty, cool.
Bye, Dan and Angela. We'll see you in a minute.
All right, catch you guys in a bit. We'll do our quick pre-opening. Coming in 3, 2. Hey, Storm Freaks, this is Phil, and we're starting our epic Chaser. Okay, I screwed that up already. Coming in 3, 2. Hey, Storm Freaks, this is Phil, and we're starting our epic 3-part storm training series. This is part 1 with guest storm chaser Skip Talbot, an associate professor and meteorologist, Dr. Victor Gensini. They're going to be talking about storm forecasting 2 to 30 days out. How's that little clip there? We've also got lots of hashtag Weather Fools and Brady's What Happens Next. It's all coming up on episode 137 of the Stormfront Freaks. MJ, you jumped in there a little bit too, but you think it's all right?
I think it's great, Phil. Also, Phil, I don't know if you know this, but there's someone behind you. I don't know if that was.
Yeah, that you don't know the story to that, do you? That
no,
was
I have no.
That was my chase partner this year because I had to go through Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh man!
It was end of May. I went through Roswell and had to pick up a chase partner. So. He was sitting in my passenger seat the rest of the chase. So. Okay, here we go. You guys ready? Let's rock. All right, 3, 2. Hey, welcome to the most entertaining weather podcast. This is the award-winning Stormfront Freaks podcast. It's part of the Stormfront Freaks network. Special thanks to our Patreon members for supporting the show and joining us tonight. I know we've got Dan and Angela are back in our green room. We've got Josh, Garrett, Curtis. They're all in the chat. So thanks for helping us out. You'll want to join us as well with the guests we've got coming on the schedule for the next few months. We got Reed Timmer, Picos Hank Shima, Ginger Z, Aaron J. Jack, Jessica Moore. Those are just some of the people that you could see. You could also chat live with if you join us at patreon.com/Stormfront Freaks. And the other show, and a lot of you guys know this, but the other show in our Stormfront Freaks network is El Niños, the Tornado Hunters podcast with Greg Johnson and his group. If you subscribe to our show, you're also going to get El Niños as well. They're on the opposite weeks because we're both bi-weekly programs. All that means is you're going to get weekly weather podcasts. You guys, if you haven't heard the last episode, the most recent one, they had drift racer Tommy Lemaire on the show. And so what's cool about El Niños is a lot of times they have well-known people in their industry that also are kind of weather fans. And so they talk about their industry, but then also get into weather stuff and talking about videos and things. So it's really cool. You got to check that out. Tonight, we're excited. We've got a great group in the house tonight. We'll introduce our co-hosts, and the way we do that is by finding out what they're drinking tonight. So I'm going to start up in Minnesota. MJ, who's our producer and Skywarn coordinator, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, tonight I went back to a Captain and Coke in a fine Disney glass.
I love that.
Disney glass from
Staple.
1990
That's
never.
awesome.
The staple,
Right.
MJ.
From 2000,
kids,
from the turn
guess
of the
what you can
century.
get at Disneyland now.
That's right. All right. Serena, our former meteorologist at the Mount Washington Observatory. Serena, what are you drinking?
I have a milkshake IPA tonight called Extra Fluffy.
Oh.
A
And so
milkshake?
How are you going to
Milk?
tie that? How do you tie that into a weather theme? 'Cause
It
you
was a
always
stretch
have
tonight. I'll be honest. It was a stretch tonight. Yeah. Clouds,
clouds.
30-day
There you go.
forecasts. I don't know.
There you go. That's good. That works.
that.
Maz, former on-camera meteorologist in Cincinnati. What are you drinking?
Well, it's what I'm not drinking because earlier I spent way too much time at Mount Carmel Brewery, and it was so we're just straight purified water right now
Time to hydrate.
and vitamin
Smart
C.
man.
Good for you, Maz.
He's coming down. He's coming down. All right. Jen, former social media specialist at the Weather Channel. Welcome
Actually,
back.
still
What are you drinking?
Two shows I still do at the Weather Channel.
Wow.
In case, yeah.
So what's your title there now, though? Because you're not social
So
media
I'm a
specialist.
contracting. No, I'm a contractor.
Contractor.
So yeah. Weird
Okay.
Earth and Weather Gone Viral. Yeah.
Well, I'll change your title then when I introduce you next time. Sorry, I'll just say
Showgirl.
licensed killer, contract killer at the Weather
This
Channel.
is true.
What are you
Jennifer
drinking?
Bourne.
Oh my God. I wanted to surprise you guys tonight. I really did.
Yeah.
With a Cutwater vodka. But no, I have my normal.
Yeah.
I got some hot chocolate. I know. One of these days I'm
With
gonna
whipped
come
cream?
on-
Hot chocolate.
No, I had marshmallows in it.
Oh, you gotta have the whipped cream. That's a killer. I don't know about that.
Wait, what the heck is it like in Atlanta today? Is it like 90 or something?
Probably.
It is. So I don't do very well with alcohol. Like I can get a hangover with just one drink. So I have to
That's
take
fair.
it easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Brady, our atmospheric science degree major from Ohio State. What are you drinking?
You know, I'm going to be real. I'm having some bourbon, but there's got to be some old ice or something because it's awful. I mean, it tastes like this ice has been sitting in there for like 2 years. So I'm about to go dump this and get something else. But
Your video kind of sucks tonight too, just so you know. It's
does it?
Yeah, you look like you're from 1980 playing Donkey Kong or something. But
Well, you know, I
you look
have
better.
been playing
You
some
look
Donkey
better.
Kong,
So I'll tell you that. So hey, I want everybody to know we got a special show tonight. This is part 1 of our 3-part storm training series, where we're kind of bringing together meteorologists and storm chasers who've created some of the, in my opinion, some of the best training resources, presentations, videos that they've done on their own. We all know the Olympics are happening right now this week. And so we've kind of got our own goats in the studio to discuss their tools and strategies tonight for identifying storms 30 days, 14 days, really all the way up to just a couple days out. So, Maz, let's introduce our goats, our guests tonight.
Man, first I thought you said old goats, and I thought you were talking about me, and I was like, you son of a... Hey, we've got a couple of superstars here tonight. Skip Talbot, storm chaser extraordinaire, Dr. Victor Gensini, meteorologist and associate professor. Excuse me, I said producer. Could use one of those myself tonight. Say, Skip Talbot is a software and graphics developer who started chasing supercells and tornadoes back in 2003. Now, get this, he's logged over 100,000 storm chasing miles. I'll have to find out if it's in one vehicle or not, and has documented over 100 tornadoes. He also helps run a nonprofit charity for storm victims called Storm Assist. That is so cool. And Dr. Victor Gensini is a certified consulting meteorologist and associate professor at Northern Illinois University. Now, currently, majority of his research is examining weather and climate dynamics that explain variability in extreme weather frequency and analyzing ways to forecast these events. And if you say that all in one sentence, it's going to be like, holy cow, it takes you 5 minutes just to say that part. I'm going to do this part alphabetically. So Skip, how did you guys first meet, the two of you guys?
Yeah, it was through College of DuPage and the severe weather seminars that they host there. And they invited me up there to give a presentation on storm spotting and storm chasing, and that's basically where we met. And then we did some storm chasing together. I drove for College of DuPage in 2014 on one of their trips. Victor was leading the charge and leading all the group out into the field, and I was driving van 1. And we've also done some storm chasing on our own together. So yeah, we go back a whole bunch of years.
Is van 1 still around after 100,000 miles, or what are we talking?
There's new vans there, right?
Yeah, they got new vans. Again, I'm sort of distant from the program now, but I started chasing in 2004. I think I'm very, very close to about 180,000 miles starting in 2004. There were years there for a while. I was easily logging 25,000 miles, driving well into Canada, actually chasing. So I've done a lot of chasing. I don't do a great job logging everything like Skip does and taking beautiful videos. I have terabytes, hundreds of terabytes worth of time-lapse photography that I haven't even processed because I'm too damn lazy.
Victor, do you find that storm chasing helps improve your forecasting ability?
Absolutely. Can you see my tag? Not a real doctor. That's what that says. Okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm a way better professor, forecaster, way better steward understanding the atmosphere because of storm chase. I see things in the field that I know, like the dynamics around them of what's happening, and I can understand that mathematically in a textbook. But when you see it firsthand, that's when everything clicks. It's amazing.
I love that. I think that's awesome. So Victor, I have a question for you first, and then Skip can answer this too. So as a storm chaser, a meteorologist, we always are wanting to know, when are we going to go chasing this next year, right? Around December, January, you start getting the bug, you're thinking about it. And I know that even like 7 days out, a couple of days out, you may not even know what the forecast can be. It can change, really quickly. So is there anything at all that meteorologists and storm chasers can look at that far in advance to just get an idea of when it might be a good time to go out, or if it's going to be a really active year?
Well, you see, I log into Storm Track. I find the person who says that the season is going to be an absolute coffin. It's going to be terrible. And then I just say the opposite thing. That's what I do. I just say the opposite thing. And then I have this very special magic 8 ball that I shake a couple of times and look at it.
That's very scientific.
Seriously, the answer is no. Because what is it? What makes a good storm chase? Is it a good tornado? Is it a good supercell? I would argue just being out there and getting good, deep, towering convection can be extremely rewarding. Some of my best chases had no tornado. And I truly am more enamored by the structure sometimes of supercells than the attendant, dust swirl of a tornado that everyone says, "Oh, I bagged one today. Woohoo!" That's okay. I don't give a shit. It was a 30-second, tornado that was nothing burger. To me, I block off the time in late May. I'm not a big April chaser. The storm motions for me are just too fast. I'm not interested in trying to fly 50, 60, 70 miles per hour to stay ahead of storms that are going to probably be in the southeast. So no, there are teleconnections, El Nino and La Nina mostly, that can load the dice towards an earlier season or a more active season. But there are plenty of, for example, La Ninas that end up not being active like this year. This year we're about 300, 400 tornado reports below average for the year. And this year was not a great tornado year by Great Plains standards, chasing standards, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Hey, Skip, I got to ask you a quick question. Do you find, like when Victor's talking about, tornado, do you get conflicted at all with the whole, awesome tornado, and then your nonprofit for victims of tornadoes? Do you ever feel like, I want to see a cool tornado, but I don't want, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of like the guilt almost of witnessing the most powerful force in nature, but at the same time knowing that it could potentially ruin lives, right? So the way we chase and the places we chase, it's rarely a thing where this tornado went right through town and there's mass devastation. I mean, it's always our goal to witness these things out in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, if you chase long enough, you're going to come upon disaster. But it's rare. It's so rare for us to be out there and disaster hits. Most tornadoes are out in the middle of nowhere and they hurt no one. And there's 1,000 tornadoes every year, and only a handful are killers. So I mean, the mood changes drastically once we know a town's been hit, that there's casualties. But for the most part, we're out in the middle of nowhere enjoying nature.
So we've talked about not being able to know sort of 6 months in advance, unfortunately, but that's fine. So let's start talking about a time frame where we can start seeing some signals, right? So that 30-day time period we talked about here during the intro of the show, this is where I want to get into a little bit of the detail. 30 days out, how can you do that? Like, it almost seems like it'd be just like a horoscope, right? But it's got to be more than that, So, like, talk science to me, Victor. Like, how can you tell me what's going to be happening 30 days in advance with these forecast models?
I really start watching things very closely late February, very early March. I'm very interested at that time to be watching the tropical Pacific Ocean. So really, like, the Indian Ocean, the maritime continent, out to the international dateline, this area that's sort of formally known as the MJO, or the Madden-Julian Oscillation. So I'm really watching for sea surface temperatures there. Are they above average? Are they below average? One thing that you need to know about our atmosphere is that the circulations, the changes in weather patterns that we have, are primarily driven by the tropics. So it's not a high latitude phenomenon. It's not something that originates in the mid latitudes. Our circulation patterns can change. So we can go into this complete pattern flip that's really conducive for tornadoes, or perhaps a pattern like, middle, late May of this year, which wasn't that favorable. Those are predominantly driven by tropical convective forcing. So what I'm basically saying is huge masses of thunderstorms in the Western tropical Pacific associated with the MJO. So I'm really watching, say, March 1st, where is that convection? How strong is it? How is it altering the jet stream patterns across the Pacific? Because if we start to get what happened this year, if you remember back to this year, all of the pundits, everybody was saying above average, because they were all pointing to La Nina. But what happened this year, we had really bad split flow. And split flow is basically just happens when we have two jet streams in each hemisphere, but the northern one was so far north and the southern one was so far south that we basically just had these meandering jets, or what we call split flow. And those years in history, when you go back and look at tornado counts, are usually way below average. And that's kind of exactly what happened this year. So I really get excited on or around March 1st. I'm watching this tropical convective forcing. I'm watching things like Gulf of Mexico, sea surface temperatures, right? Because that might have an impact on moisture return flow into the Great Plains. And just overall trying to get a feel for how active we've been already to that point. Because one thing we know about springs, if you start early, you usually finish strong. And so it's like, if you're starting really slow and the pattern's not conducive, it's probably for a good reason. And oftentimes we get into what's called persistence, these regimes that are just they're sort of really hard to break out of. The atmosphere kind of needs an enema to change something. And without it, like without some sort of big tropical convective forcing or a recurving hurricane, it's sometimes really hard to get out of those base states. So I have a pretty good idea of what I'm thinking the spring's going to be like the first couple weeks in March.
That's
it doesn't
awesome.
mean I'm always right, but I have a pretty good idea of what to expect. And then of course, things can change based on how strong that tropical convective forcing is and where it moves.
Skip, when do you start looking at the season and what are the things that you're looking at? Kind of what's your time period?
Yeah, outside of 14 days, I'm asking Victor. I don't do. I really do. I'm asking Victor. I'm looking at his ERTAF output, and I really don't get into the long range stuff. To me, as I'm a blue collar storm chaser. I'm not well versed in the theory and a lot of the fundamental meteorology behind all of it. But it takes 1 or 2 days to make or break the entire season for me. So, and those will happen on the worst and slowest of years. And every year, even this year, even in a really bad year, a chaser has a career year and a career chase. So beyond 14 days, I'm straight up climatology usually. So I know in June that we're going to be up in the northern plains. We're going to be up in the high plains. That's my favorite time and place to chase. And I'm just by default making plans to be up there. In May, we're going to be in the central plains. And of course that shifts around greatly depending on where the jet is. But yeah, in that long range, all I'm doing is making plans based on straight up climatology on the general region and when and where we're going to be. So yeah, I start getting excited in March. March is a real hit and miss for chasing. It's boom or bust. And then, sometimes we get those big high risk setups in the Midwest where you have a huge kicking trough come through and low cape setup, and you wind up with a Henryville or something like that. And then in April with the lifting warm fronts. So yeah, I just try to stay on top of those patterns, but to do any sort of specific planning or forecasting or magic, crystal ball, reading, not at that range.
So let's go. So you're and I think that's where you can get a little better with your forecasting and with what's available from a model standpoint. You're talking kind of the 2-week area. So Skip, let's start there for you. What's your strategy a couple weeks out? What are the tools you're looking at to start to see what's out there?
Yeah, at the 2-week range, I guess that's when I am really starting to look at data and models. And to me, as a storm chaser, it's about finding specific tools and things that work. And you get these little niche tool sets that help you hone in on a target or get out there to a chase. At that long range, I'm of course looking at the GFS and the Euro. And at that range, what I'm most interested in seeing is consistency. I don't usually get super excited or geek out, oh my gosh, there's 3,000 cape and look at this trough at 384 hours. What I want to see is the models run to run starting to show the same thing, the GFS and the Euro showing the same thing. So I want to see model to model consistency. I want to see run to run consistency. And at that range there, it's usually all over the place. You've got these big spaghetti plot of solutions. So if I see that consistency, I'll start paying more close attention to what's going on there. And then after that, I just want to see how is it trending. So a lot of times you see a big trough out at 300 hours and everyone gets excited. And then each run, it backs it off. It's less amplitude. It starts to go away. And you're still going to go chase because you got suckered in at 300 hours, but by the time the event arrives, it's lackluster. So
where are you? I'm sorry. Help us. Where are you getting those tools? What are so you're talking about the models, help people that maybe aren't as familiar. Where are you finding those and getting those?
Sure. I can give you a brief tour of what I actually look at if that's cool and we got time.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can share your screen, MJ will pull it up for you.
All right, I am sharing my screen.
And Skip, towards the end, I would love to know too, because I know like during the winter we use the ensembles for a lot of things. for severe weather, what factor, do the ensembles, both for the GFS and the Euro, do you use those as well and use the averages on those? But maybe you can get to that after you.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, and Victor, would be great to ask about this too. So, as a chaser, I want to make use of, there's a plethora of data. It's data overload. So to me, the main thing is about having an efficient workflow. How do I use all of this data and come up very quickly with something that I can use and not get bogged down in all of it? And what I wound up doing was making my own website to quickly browse all of the model output that's out there. So, and my go-to source is the College of DuPage. That's usually the site I'm checking first. And what I've done is I've basically hot linked off of their graphics. Just to use my own website to quickly browse stuff here. But I'll show you what I do here real quick is when I'm checking that long range, the first thing I do is I usually pull up the GFS here. And anyone can use this site. I recommend actually going to the College of DuPage site, go directly to the source here. This is just my own tool that I use. You're welcome to use it too. But the College of DuPage actually has a lot of extra features on it that my site doesn't make use of. I just did this on my own to make this very quick for browsing purposes. But basically, the first thing I check this time of year in the summertime is the 500 millibar winds. I want to know if we have any upper level flow because we're in summer doldrums right now. So if I don't see any of that, wind aloft, I'm usually not too interested in what's going on. And so a very quick way to check that is I pull up this site, click the GFS, and then I load up a run here, the US 12Z run, which was this morning. And then I'll go down here to the products and I'll click the 500 millibar winds. And I've already loaded here. And I've arranged this so you can quickly see the entire week or so that's coming up here. So if you mouse over these hours, the 12-hour forecast on this run is the evening. So the way this is arranged is I can just move horizontally across these hours here and I get the same time for each day. And that very quickly allows me to see what the upper level pattern is here. Is there anything in here that's getting my attention like a trough? Do we have any mid-level flow here coming in the Midwest or the plains? So just it only takes a few seconds to check this and I can check it each morning to get kind of a picture of what's happening with the weather. So I noticed, okay, at 84 hours, it looks like there's a little bit of mid-level flow, a little zonal flow on the bottom of this closed low here in the Midwest. So what's going on there? Then I can actually click on this 84 hours. And then what that does is it loads all of the products at 84 hours. So then I just move vertically through the products to see, okay, we've got a huge dome of hot air in the plains. Looks like what a dry line is setting up there along the Missouri River in eastern Nebraska and western Iowa. So that might be a focal point for storms, something to look for. And then, okay, what's our low level jet doing? Are these winds veered? And so, yeah, this is just kind of the workflow that I go through when I'm picking out a setup here. And finally, I'm getting down to instability, just basically looking at what ingredients do we need. Those big four ingredients, shear, lift, instability, moisture, and, the GFS is saying this is capped and it's common for the GFS to do this at this time range. And I would expect capping problems with this kind of setup here where we've got this closed low that's backed off here and a lot of hot air aloft and, it's summertime. So, but yeah, this is the tool that I use to get out there. And this is kind of the workflow that I go through. And again, as a storm chaser, to me, it's about marshaling all of this data and finding the tools that work and not getting bogged down with, the stuff that doesn't work. Because that's the big thing, really.
So Victor, at what point then? So we're talking about you're looking, that 30 days to 2 weeks. You're looking for model convergence, model consensus, all of that. You're looking for the trend. You're not actually looking at, point information. Forecast models are getting better with time, as we have increases in computing power and, all these different things that are happening. At what point does that start to flip a little bit? At what point can you start to say, okay, I can actually start looking at some of this point information and not so much focusing on the model convergence? Like, I actually start to believe some of the data that's coming out of these models.
That's a good question. Really, research shows that about day 10, you can start to have skill in actually predicting the local, what you would be considering grid point values, right? So if you're looking at GFS data, especially deterministic data, beyond 11 days, we wrote a paper on this 2 years ago. There's absolutely no skill. You're better off actually forecasting a random number or climatology. Persistence is actually a way better forecast.
I can do that.
Before.
I can come in.
Seriously, we've documented this. There's absolutely no skill. By the time you get to day 10, you can start using things like the GFS ensemble. I don't really like to use deterministic models. I stick with ensembles when I'm in the long range, especially week 2. And I'm just like Skip, I'm looking for agreement, but I'm really less interested in specifics at that point. I'm really just looking for upper level flow in the summertime because I know there's going to be instability somewhere. Do I have shear in the early spring? I may think there's going to be shear, so I'm just looking for moisture. I go back to this ingredients-based sort of methods that Skip talked about. I use my own homebrewed stuff. I have, this is only for subscribers. I have hourly significant tornado parameter that I calculate for the GFS. I just don't have it out there online anywhere, right? So I mean, you can do this kind of stuff if you want. Mostly, I just use chiclet charts. So if you're not familiar with what a chiclet chart is, I linked it there in the chat. I basically use this big map in the middle of all of these blues and reds to try to get an understanding in the next 10 days which days might be the most active from a supercell composite parameter perspective, because that tells me where at least all the ingredients are overlapping with inside of the model. And when I start to see vertical continuity in the chiclets, there's my agreement that, somewhere in the United States, the parameter space is going to be good for supercells. And then, as it gets to day 4 through 8, now I'm really looking at specifics, right? I want to know exactly where the dry line is. Am I going to be having to deal with HP supercells, veered flow? What's the picture in my mind of convective morphology for that particular day? How do I see it sort of playing out from a synoptic scale? And then, of course, as you get closer to we can talk more about those, the specifics once you get closer to day 3 and 4 and really what you're looking for. But at weeks 1 and 2, I'm really just looking for big synoptic scale picture. Do we have a system, right? Do we have a wave? Do we have a trough? Do we have some cape and shear? My favorite maps to look at are on the COD site under the GFS ensemble page. I'll just show you what I do. This is awesome. I can do it really quick here. So I'll go to my chiclet chart, but here's what I do. I created these graphics, so I'm a little bit, I guess I'm biased towards using them, but basically I just go here to the GEFS. I go to convective products, and I'm really looking for this first plot. What's the probability of getting at least 1,000 joules of CAPE? And then what's the average 500 millibar wind speed from all the members? And so if I go to this weekend, which, right, we're expecting severe weather across the Midwest, right? Every single member, 95% of them have CAPE over 1,000 joules. And I'm, at 500 millibars, my wind speed is 25, 30 knots, which gives me a proxy for deep layer shear. And, that's when I'm moving into spring, I'm sort of, what's the synoptic pattern look like? Before I worry about any of the major details. I'm really in the spring, especially May, I'm just looking at the 500 millibar pattern. That's all I care about in most cases.
So why did you choose 1,000 instead of 2,000 or 3,000? Just because it's more general, or?
Well, if you use 2,000, you're going to be limited to the plains, and you're not going to see a lot of agreement. First of all, it's pretty hard outside of, say, late May and into June to get 2,000 joules, and the sweet spot might be 1,500. But you're going to lose a lot of CAPE as you go east of the Mississippi River. You're not going to capture any of those southeastern United States events, right, that are typically lower CAPE, higher shear. So I think 1,000 is a pretty good sweet spot, especially when you're averaging across 35 different members. And some of them are going to have 5,000 and some of them are going to have 0, right?
Awesome.
And Victor and Skip, I think this question could go to either of you. But what do you think in the 1 to 2 week range, what are we doing wrong that you see us being able to correct in the next 10 years, or what in your opinion, what's the thing that storm chasers or forecasters are doing wrong right now that we should correct or are looking to correct in the future?
I think one way that we're going to get a lot better is understanding weather regimes when the models have a lot of skill and when they're not so skillful. So there's times actually throughout the year when the GFS is doing really good in week 2, and there's times when it's not. And I think if chasers can attune themselves to understanding patterns that are favorable for the models doing well, then using them is great. But I think what I see a lot across the storm chaser community is just relying on the raw output, for example, from the GFS and saying, well, next week sucks. Everybody pack it in. There's going to be no chasing. The GFS shows a huge death ridge. I guarantee you, like past 10 years, I told you 20, 25,000 miles. I'm out there during those patterns and I'm having a blast because nobody's out there. There's 25, 30 knots of flow on the high plains, but they're beautifully structured storms. And you have to ask yourselves, are you tornado chasing or are you storm chasing at that point? And I think that's where a lot of the people get so upset if it's not a perfect tornado pattern, right? And it's just like, I don't understand that discussion. I think you're at that point, the tail is wagging the dog.
Skip, you got anything else week out that you're looking at or thinking about or focused on?
No, I think Victor really nailed those points. Absolutely. I totally agree with him.
Okay. Well, I think everybody knows that, it's always storm season. And, of course, tropical storms are coming in. And at helicity.co/SFF, they've got a huge selection of weather and hurricane-themed merchandise, including Stormfront Freaks shirts, beverage containers, and stickers. So all you got to do is go to helicity.co/SFF, and you're going to earn 5% off your entire order. And while you're there, don't forget to click on the Brands tab, and that's where you're going to find all your Stormfront Freak favorites. Again, that's at helicity.co/SFF. So we're going to go ahead. I think it's time for a break, and we're going to be right back with more from Skip and Victor.
Great conversation, guys. I love you sharing your screens and going so in depth. And I feel like everyone here tonight is like blown away by that. So I think that's awesome.
Cool. All right. So one of the fun things we get to do. So we've got a couple VIPs, Dan and Angela, with us tonight, Skip and Victor. So we always like to give them an opportunity too to ask some questions. So in our both you, Dan and Angela, within our week to 30 days out is kind of what we've covered so far. What you guys have any questions on that, or maybe you want to know their favorite dog's name or something? I don't know, but the floor is yours, is what I'm getting at. Angela, Dan, anybody?
Thank you for doing this. It's very insightful. And I mean, Skip, I've been watching your videos at least for like 10 years. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you putting all that information out there.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. Skip is a rock star. By the way, I am not drinking a beer for like the first time. My COVID project was to install a kegerator in my basement. And like
in my basement. All right.
And I installed a kegerator as my COVID project, and I'll tell you, not a great move for your health. But tonight I'm having a Bayberries. So if you're familiar with the Bayberries, it's Tito's, cranberry juice, and pineapple juice. It's actually really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Well done.
I got sangria with some fresh strawberries and raspberries.
You guys are fancy.
Damn.
I tried to make sangria last week, and it literally tasted like it was awful. I don't even know.
Brady, what's wrong with your buds?
I put seltzer in it. Apparently, not supposed to do that. I put a bunch of like ice in it too, and it's just watered down grape juice. With
Did you put wine in it?
No.
Well,
Brady, you got to go fancy like Skip. Fancy.
I didn't put wine. I thought you were supposed to put vodka in it.
No, sangria is like a wine. That's whatever. It doesn't matter.
True.
Okay.
I need help, Serena. I need help bad.
I'll help you, Brady.
That sounds really nice for outside. You're mowing the lawn and you take one of those with you,
Take the grass out of the top of it.
Yeah. That adds, it's like a tea. Adds a little something.
All right. I did see that we had Joe Mays was watching us in the chat. I'm just looking to see if these guys had any questions. MJ, are you hearing Brady now, by the way?
I can see and hear everybody now. Yay.
Wow. It works.
Yay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's now a couple of times I'm going, that's dead air. Wait, no.
I didn't
Brady
say
must
anything
be
bad
talking.
about you. I didn't say anything bad about you. Don't worry. Not yet.
Don't worry. I'll review the video later.
I like how everyone in the chat's talking about, like Curtis said, I'm going to have to watch this episode about 50 times to soak all this in. It's good stuff. It's really great info.
Well, and honestly, this would just be a small refresher compared to, what I've seen of Skip's videos as well, which Skip very well done, by the way. So,
Josh said that.
Do you have Skip? Does Jen help you out with those?
With the videos?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes
Okay.
I like to get her on to narrate, and she does provide like some photography and editing as well. So, because she's got the artistic eye, and she knows how to get those beautiful shots. So, and apparently everyone loves hearing her voice too. Apparently, like in the comments on the YouTube videos, everyone is saying that she should have her own ASMR channel. So.
I don't even know what that is.
We have a warm front coming.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Oh God, what the heck? Phil, oh God.
You asked what it is. It's kind of a little bit of everything.
Okay.
I can
Google
infer it when we're done.
I can infer.
All right. So what we'll do, we will come back, and I will bring us in from break. Start off with questions. So we'll kind of finish up now with under a week out. 4 days out, 3 days, 2 days. We'll cover that area. Anything, Victor or Skip, either one of you that maybe we haven't hit on yet when we're in the 1 to 2 week out area? Or we were good with that?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
it's all about, how folks interpret models and, what are you, I think the major thing for most people is just to understand that, if you want severe storms, you need those 4 ingredients. We always talk about SLIM, right? Shear lift, instability, and moisture. And if you got those 4, you have a possibility for severe weather. And of course, everything else is left to the storm scale.
Victor, I have a question I kind of want to ask you once we come back about the super tornado outbreak of 2011 and like looking at drought and the Texas drought. And a lot of people were eyeing like the Southeast. That's partially why it was so active with just different variations. And I mean, there's a lot of weather patterns and it was a generational tornado outbreak, but it was a very well forecasted. I remember when I was on air in Tupelo, Mississippi, and we knew it like a week out, more than a week out, like things were coming together. So I'd love to ask about that example.
Sure. Let's save that to the end once we get through Jen, once we get through the forecasting questions, and you can hit on that, maybe be the last question we go out with or something. That sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll come back. We'll do some questions. I'll apologize up front, Skip and Victor, because it does look like we're going later than we normally do. But these are very good questions and answers, and I think people would be appreciative of getting good stuff and not just lightly touching on little stuff. So if you guys are still good, you're okay from a time standpoint.
Oh yeah.
All right. Cool.
Let's do it.
So we'll come back. We'll do the questions, and I guess my goal is just to make sure we're catching everything we want to catch up to a couple days out, and then and if obviously Jen's got a question, and if there's some more in there, we can quick hit those. But then we will go to when you hear that sound. So we're done. It's time to go to the lightning round, and we're going to play a little game show with Skip and Victor before we go to our second break. Okay. All right, so we'll be coming back here in 3, 2. All right, well, hey, welcome back to the first in our 3-part storm training series. We've already got some great stuff from our experts tonight, Skip Talbot and Victor Gensini. Guys, we've kind of covered now up to our 1 week range, and so now we're getting into our 2, 3, 4 days out area, which now everyone knows the SPC is getting involved at this point. But Skip, what I guess now we're at this point we're looking at a week out or less. Let's say 4 days, right? Yeah. 3-4 days. What's the focus at this point? Because now we probably are going to start to really see some good model, not always, but see some model consistency with things or not, which might also help us. Correct. But tell us what the things you're looking at.
Yeah, at 3 to 4 days, now I'm switching to the mid-range models, and really now I'm honing in on more of those deterministic solutions. So if we've had that run-to-run consistency and that model-to-model consistency, and now the NAM is finally on board, that to me is the make or break point for a chase. So when the NAM comes on board, and if it's, you know, thumbs up with the same pattern and the same solution, I'm making plans to chase. I'm packing the car. So that's really what I'm looking at. And I know we can do it now or when we get a chance later, but I have a couple of secret weapons that I start to look at this time range.
Dude, pull them out, man.
Yeah, do it now, man.
Secret
Okay.
weapons.
Sure.
Talk about a teaser. Holy cow.
It's got to better be like a button where it's just like, I'm going to make a storm pop up out of nowhere, right?
I was thinking of dropping the mic, but maybe we'll just wait. No, drop the mic.
So the whole reason I made this site actually was because there's a guy named Earl Barker who puts out these model plots. And let me pull up Earl's. You guys can see my screen, right? Yep. Earl's site is this. It looks like it was made in 1995, and then you click on a thing and it's text. Like it's all text and it's all just a giant cluster of model outputs. So and he would literally have like a table of like here, you'd have a table of model output. Like you'd have to try to find the day and the hour and the product, and you're looking through this giant grid to find the products. And yet he had some of the most compelling severe weather output that I'd seen at the time. I mean, he had the best stuff. And so I had to like marshal this into a usable format. And so my motivation for making this site was Earl's site. And what I do is I found chasers find a little bits and crumbs that work for them. Everybody has their own secret weapons and their own, you know, hacks basically that get them out there. One of my big ones and that I'm always preaching about in my videos is the lid strength. And so this is a measure of that lid on the atmosphere, the cap basically. And I found Earl's plots on the NAM do a great job at discriminating between surface-based and elevated storms. Because when you've got the favorable value here, that storm can really be rooted to that boundary layer, or it can be above it essentially. And so, and this plot is difficult to read. And it's also a mess. I mean, look at this color scale. So I'll quickly look here, but basically what I'm looking at here is I want to see, is the environment open for a surface-based storm? So, and I want to see these greens and these yellows and these reds. And to me, that's the lid strength is open. And so again, it's a measure of the cap. Other people like to look at convective inhibition. That's basically the area of the cap. Other people like to look at LFC minus LCL. That's basically the height of the cap if you're looking at it on the sounding. But this is basically the width of the cap if you're looking at it on the sounding. And I found that width to be very telling. A storm has a very difficult time getting through a short, fat cap than it does a tall, skinny cap, even if the convective inhibition is the same value. So if I see these dark blues and teals and purples and oranges, let's say there's a dry line in Nebraska here, but look at those colors out there. I'm basically saying that's shut down for a surface-based storm. And it's one of the very few times where I'll second guess the Storm Prediction Center. They might throw a 5% out in Nebraska, and I'll say that environment is not conducive for a surface-based storm. And I used to live and die by this plot. If I'm going out for a tornado, this is one of the best discriminators I've found to do that. But it's really given me pause. The past couple of years, there were a couple setups that really busted this. And it makes me want to go back and rethink my life even. But yeah, this is one of the plots I rely on most. I think it's a great discriminator for surface-based versus elevated storm mode. And to me, it's about learning how to read these plots and learning their biases and their trends. So the NAM tends to be too strong with the cap early on, and you actually see it weaken as the event gets nearer. And you also want to know, okay, is the cap opening or closing? How is this changing over time? Basically, to me, these plots are never about the specific value or the bullseye. It's always about how are they changing? How are they trending spatially, temporally? You're always on the gradients. You're never in the middle of the plots. So yeah, that's one of my big secret weapons. The other secret weapon I use is 0 to 3 kilometer cape in the lowest level. And to me, this is a very good indicator, again, for tornadic versus non-tornadic. And so Earl Earl kind of opened the door showing these plots. These plots are now available on College of DuPage. They're a lot easier to read on the COD sites. I still use Earl's sites because I've learned over the years just how to read and interpret these plots and what they mean. And to me, it's not just the values, it's getting the experience to basically interpret and know what this is saying to you, learning how this is going to translate into an actual chase. It's basically pattern recognition at that point. But I still think Earl actually has the best plots here. They're difficult to read, but I think his plots discriminate a little bit more tightly on these types of events. So yeah.
All right. So your secret weapons is Earl, basically. Earl is the secret weapon.
Earl is my secret weapon. And when Earl, I'm assuming he's running these on a computer in his basement. When Earl's page goes down, I'm in trouble. So
So Victor, secret weapons. Let's pull them out. What are your secret weapons?
Skip, I will recreate all of those plots for you when his page goes down.
I
don't know what his graphics package is, Weathercaster or whatever, but I'll be making with grads. That's a good question. It really depends on what am I anticipating. Am I anticipating a tornado chase? Because I'll tell you what, when you're out there chasing all season, you wake up in the morning and you go, today's a chase day, but it's not a tornado day. If it's a tornado day, I am very much 0 to 500 meter helicity, 0 to 1 kilometer helicity in the presence of some sort of low level instability. 0 to 3 cape is great for that, especially 0 to 3 ML cape in the afternoon, the mixed layer parcels. If I have 200, 300 joules a kilogram of 0 to 3 ML cape, I am stoked, especially if that's in the presence of, say, 150 or 200 joules per kilogram, which is, a lot of people use meter squared per second squared for helicity. It's energy, it's joules per kilogram, same units. If I see those together, it's a tornado chase. It's on for me. Absolutely. If I'm more expecting supercells to evolve, that to me is just, I look for deep layer shear and deviation, the potential for deviation. What do I think the storm motion will look like relative to the hodograph? I'm looking for the possibility for strong mesocyclones for longevity. So in that particular case, we've done some research that suggests, things like just 500 millibar wind speed is actually a really good discriminator for whether or not you're going to have organized convection. But, steep lapse rates seem to always be a very, very important aspect of supercells. And so just looking at something like 2 to 6 kilometer or 3 to 5 kilometer, or, some people use 700 to 500 millibar of lapse rates. Those are generally areas that often advect in on the nose of those steeper lapse rates. You need those steeper lapse rates to help you break the cap in many cases, especially as you get later in the season. So I'm really just looking more for, how do I think the pattern is going to evolve? How do I understand that pattern from a synoptic or mesoscale perspective? And then, I tend to lean for the, this is just how I chase. I tend to lean towards the possibility of just having a storm in the bag versus, say, gambling further down the dry line in, incredible instability and the possibility for a tornado. I'm just not, I'm out there to see convection. I'd rather be seeing storms, even if they're not great, versus being in the best possible parameter space for 1 hour of the day just to get a tornado shot. I mean, that's just my philosophy when I chase. So it's different, right? I think depending on the day, but for tornadoes, yeah, I want low level instability and low level helicity. Absolutely.
So I have a question here. So I think we've talked about some things, 1 to 2 or 3 days out that you're looking for. What are some red flags? And maybe Victor can start with you. Say, the models are showing a bunch of cape, a bunch of instability, a bunch of helicity. What are some things like day of you're looking for, like, oh, the cape has gone way down. That's a big red flag. Or what are other, things you're looking for that you say, I'm actually going to call off this chase today?
For me, if I see a lot of convection, especially early in the morning, I'm concerned about a weak cap. If you want explosive thunderstorm development, you have to have strong enough cap to be able to hold that lid on the boiling pot of water until bam, right? You can take it off and get the explosive updrafts that you want. Now, that said, it may be perfect timing where it lays down an outflow boundary, but if you're good enough with your mouse, so let's talk about the HER, right? Or the NAM nest, these convection allowing models. If you're good enough with your mouse and you have enough patience, on any day, probably even in marginal or slight risks, you could probably find a PDS Tor sounding if you take enough time to click through. But what you're really getting is just the storm modifying its local environment. That's probably sucking on air that's above the boundary layer. It's elevated, and it's spitting out PDS Tor because there's tons of helicity and there's some CAPE, but it's an elevated storm. And so I think just understanding that background environment that the storm is probably forming in the first place is really where you want to start. But I always I poo-poo setups a lot when the cap is too weak, and also when the cap is too strong. And it's such a Goldilocks area. If it's too strong, you have towers going up that look beautiful, and all of a sudden, at the very top, they turn from this beautiful, crisp to mashed potatoes. Right? There's too much dry air. It's what happens. There's too much dry air entrainment. The air's too hot, and the convection struggles no matter what. It'll keep bubbling, but it's not going to get any better, right? And then on the flip side of that, you have a case where perhaps the storms go up and they're forecasted. You can pretty much see when this is going to happen in the models. The lift is so strong, or the cap is too weak. And by 1 o'clock, storms are going up all around you, and the instability is zapped like that, because as soon as you get towering storms and anvils, you immediately cool the contact layer, the surface contact layer, and you kill your surface lapse rates. So it's no setup is, no two setups are alike. That's what makes it part of it fun.
So cauliflower good, mashed potatoes bad.
There's the title of your show. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So I have to ask you, Victor, about the super tornado outbreak of 2011. I was on air, and we had like 3 different rounds of severe weather: an early morning round, a mid-morning round, and then the main event. And it was one of those that, like, even looking a couple of days, like 9 days out, things were looking like, wow, what's happening there? It just, everything was through the roof. Can you break down why that was different really than any other outbreak? And also, does drought play into just how bad it can be for a season?
Great question. April 27th, 2011 was an outbreak amongst a historic month for tornado activity in the United States, including April 15th, 16th, the 27th, of course. There were actually several significant tornado days in April of 2011. And when you look back and sort of do a forensic analysis on that month, the one thing that you see is, of course, La Nina was in play. So you had a lot of these meandering troughs into the east of the Rockies. But the elevated mixed layer, the cap, if you will, was very strong. And, if you want to point to one thing, why does the U.S. have more tornadoes, more severe weather than anywhere in the world? It's because of this continental tropical, the CT air mass in the desert Southwest. The Chihuahuan Desert in Mexico is elevated like 3 or 4 kilometers above sea level. And the intense heating that happens there in the spring, that air mass, as it gets advected, right, as it moves off the Mexican high plateau over top of the Great Plains or over top of the southeastern United States, that's how you get the steep lapse rates that you need to get big CAPE. And that's what we had in April 27, 2011. You could see that elevated mixed layer being advected, moved across Texas, and eventually Mississippi, Alabama, portions of Georgia and Tennessee. That EML, when you get an EML east of the Mississippi River, I think something like 95% of those days, when you get an EML, a strong EML east of the Mississippi, they are tornado outbreaks. The case that we just had in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, EML. These are things that are, the elevated mixed layer is the reason, right, why we have significant tornadoes in the United States. And so tracking that feature, which is more intense during drought, is something that I also am looking at as we move into the early spring. We talked about long range forecasting in the March timeframe, in the April. I'm looking to see how strong is that EML. If it's too strong, then I'm going to be worried by late May, June that everything's going to be capped off in the Southern Plains and the activity might be well further north or in the Midwest. But that was a case where we had a nice, strong, big, expansive EML, and it just advected. It was a pristine air mass that was advected over, and the models did a great job forecasting it, significant agreement. That was one of those cases where, if you're a big severe weather buff, you go back and look at a map of a tornado outbreak and you're like, okay, what are all the characteristics? We have a big 500 millibar trough. We got a dry line, right? 70 dew points, backflow in the warm sector. I mean, that was the hallmark. The models were painting like, if you opened up a synoptic meteorology textbook and looked next to the definition of tornado outbreak and there was a map, right? That's what you saw when you were forecasting for April 27th, 2011. So that was an excellent forecast by the Storm Prediction Center. They had that highlighted, several days in advance. They were talking about it in their day 4 through 8 discussion. And people that were really interested in severe weather forecasting, I'm sure were watching that a week or so in advance going, this is going to be a pretty historic day.
I'm thinking of Brady's mom right now. You've really got to be a weather geek tonight, or you're going to get left behind with the discussion. This is great stuff. But hey,
She'll still be
everybody,
listening.
that's the sound. It is time for our lightning round. So this is our game show of flashy and brilliant questions that we always play with our guests, and tonight is no different. We're gonna kind of pit Skip and Victor against each other. I mean, these guys are like sometimes chase partners. We're going to make them competitors tonight. We're going to put them together. And I'm going to call this game Sodas of Tornado Alley.
Don't you mean soda pop, Phil?
Whatever. Sodas, pops. I'm just going to say Sodas of Tornado Alley. And so this is from, which this is funny, but it's from Thrillist.com, the iconic soft drink of every state in America. And so we're going to talk about Tornado Alley. And what I'll do, gentlemen, is I'll just kind of go back and forth. And I'm going to give you the name of a soda. I'll explain it a little bit. And you have to tell me what state in Tornado Alley this happens to be the iconic soft drink, okay? And I don't know how much science went into this, but that's what the game is regardless. And I'll tell you, my definition of Tornado Alley might be a little loose, but for the most part, it's going to be kind of states a little bit in the middle there for the most part.
We forgive you, Phil, don't worry.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with Skip. I'm going to start with you first, okay? And I'm going to give you the name, and I'm throwing you a softball here. Because you're the veteran, you've been on the show before. Victor hasn't. I should probably switch that around, shouldn't I? Give Victor the softball. I'm going to give Victor the softball. Skip, sorry.
As long as you don't ask me about.
So here's the softball, dates. Victor. I'll start with you.
That's really setting
the name of the soda is Sioux City Sarsaparilla. It's named after this state's city. It's widely regarded as one of the best sarsaparillas out there. It's even been mentioned in the Big Lebowski. So your goal is you just got to tell me what state this is the iconic soft drink in.
South Dakota. Ah! No. Oh, Sioux City. I thought you said Sioux Falls. Oh,
I said Sioux City. I think I said Skip. Skip, it's to you. Who? What state?
Womp. No, it's Iowa.
Close enough. Close enough. I'll give that to you.
What's a sarsaparilla? I have no idea. What is that?
Do you know?
Are you're not a fan of Iowa? Chasing Iowa, then are you, Skip?
Radar O'Reilly on
you actually haven't chased until you've been to a Sioux City Canaries baseball game.
Okay, so so that's gonna probably knock a lot of people out of calling themselves chasers.
Knocks me out. I'm out.
All right, so Skip, we're going to you since you got it. I'm going to call this, so here's the soda. It's called Sundrop. It's the citrus soda we've been introduced, that may have been introduced in Missouri, but it's got a strong foothold in this upper Midwest state. What state is this the iconic soft drink of? Sundrop.
Sundrop, upper Midwest. The only thing that comes to mind upper Midwest is Minnesota. So I'm going to just guess that one.
And that is correct.
There you go.
Minnesota. So, all right, here we go. All right, we're back to you, Victor. Dublin Dr. Pepper. So a variety of Dr. Pepper that uses cane sugar rather than high fructose corn syrup. Dublin Dr. Pepper was actually discontinued back in 2012, but you can still find it in soda fountains all over this state.
I'm going to say this state because the only person that I know that loves Dr. Pepper more than anyone in the world is Roger Edwards, SPC forecaster, and he's from Texas. No idea.
That would be incorrect. So Skip, I'll throw it to you. Do you happen to know what state this might be the iconic soft drink?
Real cane sugar?
Apparently, yep.
Sounds hippie-ish. Like people in the South want their high fructose corn syrup. I'm going Colorado.
Yep.
Not Colorado. All right, freaks. Any idea?
Missouri.
Colorado.
Nebraska.
Wisconsin.
Kansas.
It was actually Oklahoma. Apparently, Oklahoma still has this. In
Roger
their
Edwards
fountains.
lives in Oklahoma. You should have gone with that.
Oh. Wow.
All right, Skip. Here we go. Sprecker Root Beer. It's a pretty standard brewery that makes beer, but it's also well known for its sodas, particularly its root beer, which has this state foaming at the mouth.
I think it's Missouri.
It is not. Victor, any idea what state has Sprecker Root Beer, Sprecker Brewery?
I will go with. It's got to be Northern Plains. I'm going to say North Dakota.
Incorrect. And this might be where my definition of Tornado Alley gets a little more liberal. But freaks, I'll throw it to you. Any idea?
MJ, think of the Dells.
Oh, wherever it is, they need the rabies shot because I don't think it's really normal
Wisconsin?
to foam at the mouth.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Oh.
So yeah, a little liberal there, but okay. All right, so Skip, we're back to you. I have got IBC Root Beer. So this was once this state's most famous soda company. IBC is now owned by Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, but it doesn't make this root beer any less delicious. What state?
Oh man, I have no clue. Kansas.
All right, Victor.
I will say Nebraska.
Okay, freaks. That's good. Nice and quick.
Missouri.
Arkansas.
Did we do
It was Missouri. Missouri.
Oh, it was Missouri.
You got it. Yeah, that was Missouri. All right.
These are hard.
Nice, Maz.
Here we go, Victor.
Running out of states.
Lost. So we're in the root beers. Lost Trail Root Beer. It's a tried and true brew with this state. Lost Trails Root Beer has been made in state since the frontier days.
Ooh, I was going to go something along the Homestead Act, but perhaps maybe Oregon Trail now, I'm thinking. So
I'm not that liberal with my Tornado Alley, so don't think Oregon.
No.
I'm going Germany.
No. I think I will go with Kansas on that, actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Kansas,
Nice.
very good. Very
Well
good,
done.
Kansas. All right, Skip. This one's kind of a little bit for you guys, but you ended up with it. All right, Green River, originally the product of a brewery facing restrictive prohibition policies. Green River grew to be this state's favorite soft drink and been bottled for years.
Green River, and it's for us. Is it Illinois?
A little liberal with Tornado Alley. Yes,
Nice.
that was for you guys.
Job.
All right, here's one. We're going to go, Victor, to you. Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is this state's official state soft drink, one of only 2 states to have one, and was invented there in 1927.
I feel like that's got to be Texas.
Skip, what do you think?
It's somewhere down south. I'm going with Arkansas.
Maz?
Nebraska.
Did we do tech? Oh, what's Nebraska?
Okay.
Yes.
We'll throw a couple more out there. Skip? We're at you. So if you ask this is Dr. Pepper. So if you ask someone from this state what kind of Coke they want, chances are the answer will be Dr. Pepper. Granted, Coke is their word for soda, but it's still pretty telling.
Coke's a word for soda, so it's down south. Louisiana? All right, that's probably outside of the Tornado Alley.
Well, I'm pretty liberal, but no, it's not Louisiana. So, Victor.
I would agree. It's got to be something in the South. Oklahoma, Texas. I don't know, something. I'd say Texas. Texas. Come on.
All right. Texas. It is
Everything's
Texas.
a Coke down there. Orange Coke, cherry Coke, whatever Coke.
Okay, Victor. Okay, so we're going to do one more. Last one. Coca-Cola. Damn it, we couldn't find anything for this state, so we just made their soda Coke. Get your act together. This is a little bit of a Hail Mary, and I will actually take I'll take two states can be the answer for this one, because the answer for the other state was the same thing. So Coca-Cola.
So now, okay, origin, I'm thinking Atlanta area, so somewhere east. I'll say Arkansas.
Skip. This is made up, by the way. So you're thinking you're thinking too hard. I can tell you guys. That's why it said, "Damn it, we couldn't find anything for this state." So they just said Coca-Cola. So all right, Skip.
South Dakota.
I would have taken South Dakota or North Dakota.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah, so good. All right, so well done. I don't know who won. You guys both won. You're both good at that, or both sucked at it. I don't know. But it was fun regardless, so thanks for playing along. So let's do this. Victor, I'll start with you since you're the rookie here. Where can listeners find you online?
So I am on Twitter at Gensini WX, and then I have a storm chasing blog that I'm really lazy. I try to update it, but it's GensiniWX.com.
Cool. All right, Skip, your turn. Where can people find you?
You can sub my YouTube channel, Skip Talbot Storm Chasing, and you can follow me on Facebook. I will post there occasionally, and I also update a website, skip.cc.
And for anybody watching, I'm actually playing Skip's 3 hours of tornadoes video in the background. It's kind of a Storm Chasers Yule log video. It's kind of fun. So you can find that on YouTube as well.
Did you give him permission, Skip? Did you?
I did.
You have my blessing.
Trust me, I'm not making any money on this, so you're good. All right, so hey, everybody, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take our final break. We're going to have more hashtag Weather Fools coming up. And Brady's back, and he's got his What Happens Next segment. So we'll see you in a bit. All right,
job,
so
guys.
gentlemen, so here's the scoop. So you guys, if you want to stick around for another 15, 20 minutes while we finish up with a couple funny segments, you're welcome to do so. But you've already given us more than enough time. So if you need to take off, you can as well. It's up to you.
Yeah, I can hang out.
Okay.
Cool. I will probably sign off. I do have a toddler, so I hope he's in bed right now, or I'm going to get out of here and kick his ass. But
which is fair.
Yeah.
I'm going to give, if Dan or Angela happen to have a question for you before you leave, I'll give them the floor.
Please.
Well, I guess I do. With the longer range models and stuff like that, how do you feel about people, the hype train? How do you feel about people without any forecasting experience getting on Twitter and starting a train wreck with the forecast?
Well, here's the deal. As soon as the models come out, the train has already left the station. Right? Somebody's going to find it. Somebody's going to put it on Facebook or Twitter. And if you're not the first one to do it, right, you're not going to get the clicks and the likes. So I really don't care. I like the attention that it draws to severe storm science and meteorology. I know a lot of people that, they think whatever, storm chasers look down on those people who are, touting the hype train. Look, I get excited when there's a possibility for severe weather, especially if it's, a setup that looks like it'll produce tornadoes in relatively unpopulated areas. I think the hype is often unwarranted because a lot of the setups that people are getting excited about, I think look like garbage. Again, we're in an era now of instant gratification, clicks, likes, and you got to be the first to tell the story. And if you're not, you're late. And even if the story is not a good story or, it's not a great setup, it's still, you were the first one to do it. So I've been doing a lot less social media than when I first started chasing. I'm just more, I look at it now as, I don't care who subscribes to my blog or looks at my photos. I'm just out there to have a good time and enjoy nature. And if that's your game, your jam, then great, and I'm going to get along with you. And that's why I get along so well with Skip, because I've seen, I don't know how many hundreds of tornadoes, but I don't count them, right? I don't care. I just go where the storms are possible, and I enjoy everything that Mother Nature has to offer. So I could care less, to be honest, about the hype train. It doesn't bother me.
So before you go, question from Curtis, who's watching. Rumors of the lack of overseas air travel resulting in less accurate data being collected for the models. Is that accurate? Is that true?
Not a rumor. That's absolutely true. If you actually look at the difference between the 12Z GFS and the 0Z GFS, the 12Z GFS is usually every week 3 or 4 points more skillful. And that's because it's assimilating all of the red-eye flights from LA across the Pacific. So you're getting a lot of those red-eye flights, transatlantic flights that are coming in overnight hours. They get assimilated into the 12Z models, and usually the 12Z models are a little bit more skillful. So that's absolutely true. And with reduction of air travel in COVID, we saw a huge impact to the hit of the 500 millibar skill, especially in the longer range.
Oh.
So
Skip,
there's definitely truth to that.
Let's anybody for Victor before he heads out. Okay, Victor, thank you so much. We're
Thank
going
you
to
all.
edit
This has been awesome.
Thank you.
We'll edit this and post it probably Sunday.
Cool.
And I'll just try and tag you on some of my posts just so you're aware that it's out there.
Yeah, I may be out chasing. Saturday and Sunday around here look fairly interesting. Speaking of, day 4 or 5 predictions. So
Cool.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks everybody for the warm welcome. It was great to be with all of you.
Awesome.
Good job.
Thanks, Victor.
Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.
Yep. Skip, as always,
you.
it's good to see you, man.
You too, Victor. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, Phil, I'm going to have to jump too because my little person. So,
Okay.
Skip, you get to be in my place. So it's exciting. Have fun with everyone.
Square.
I know.
Center square. Yeah. Skip gets center square. All right.
Bye, guys. This was so
Maz,
much fun.
see you, Jen. Thanks. Maz,
Jen.
were you going to ask Skip a
Hi.
question?
Yeah. How do people find your Storm Assist nonprofit?
Yeah, Storm Assist is stormassist.org, and it's a small, loose-knit group of storm chasers. We're entirely volunteer, and so there's not a lot happening with it right now. We're kind of off season, and there hasn't been a lot of activity on the site. But it's one of our ways that when disaster does strike, that we try to organize and get some monetary relief to these impacted areas.
It's a great idea. It really is.
And then I'm
Thanks,
going to do one more question for Skip, quick before we keep going. Curtis had said, "What are your thoughts on the HRR always overdoing dues for Northern Plains and Canadian prairies?"
Yeah, overdoing the dues for the Northern Plains and Canadian prairies. Hang on a second. We've got another guest here.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, I think they always, you guys got to do the do. You don't want to overdo the do. You just got to do it. So
Nice.
there we go.
All right.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So the HER has, and one of the things I try to learn with the models is all of these biases. So the HER in some regards will absolutely be too high in the moisture. But one of the things it was also doing this year was it was very over aggressively mixing out the moisture. So we were trying to chase the dry line and the high plains, and it was just moving that dry line and mixing out all of those dews way far east. And so we had to take that bias into account and know that, yeah, the dews are not going to be in the 30s out here in Western Nebraska. They're going to be in the upper 50s, and we still have a chase. So that's one of the skills that you have to learn as a forecaster and a meteorology is these models all have their biases and what are they and how can you account for that? So
Cool. All right. So here's what we'll do. Let's talk about here our closing segments. So Serena, we'll start with you. We'll break into you on Weather Fools.
Okay.
All right, so we'll bring you in on that and an applause. I have got 6 to cover tonight, so I will
Good
go quickly.
Lord. Okay.
There were a lot of them
God.
this week. So
Oh my gosh.
There's-
All right, I
yeah.
have one. Does anyone else other than Phil have one? Brady's got
I
one.
have 2, but I think I'll save mine. They're listener contributions. I can save mine till next time because that's a lot. So
I'll go. I'll go fast. It's not that big of a deal.
I actually have 15, Serena. So
All right, I'll start with mine, and then I'll go to Brady, and then MJ, and then we'll end with Phil's 6.
Jeez.
Yeah, because you guys, it's possible
Giddy
you
up.
guys might cover one of my 6 anyway, or
Okay.
2 or 3 of them. So that's fine. And then you can close by saying they're all on episode 137 show notes. 137, and then Brady, I will introduce you. Okay, and so you get to do Brady's What Happens Next. Remember, with the videos, I always kind of explain what actually is going on for listeners that are listening.
Yep.
And then you can also say 137 show notes. They can watch the videos. Make sure you send me links to those, please. And any of you with Weather Fools, make sure you send me links. Email that to me for the show notes.
137, right?
137. Yep.
Correct.
And then Freak Fan Box, and I will close it up. Okay.
Go gadget.
Everybody ready? And don't forget to share your screen if you are showing a. Dan's already counting us in. Shit. Okay. All right. So
Boom.
yeah, share. Brady, you sharing your screen?
yeah.
All right. Serena.
Yep, it's up now.
All right. MJ, we good?
I think so.
All right. And Skip, you get to comment too now. You're a co-host, so you get to have comments from the peanut gallery just like the rest of us do at this
Great.
point. All right. So Serena, I am counting you in 3, 2.
Well, today we are going to be talking about Weather Fools. This is where we get to find some fantastic videos of people on the internet doing things that maybe aren't so smart. I'm going to go ahead and start today with the first Weather Fool. And it's always people driving in water for some reason. I don't quite know why that happens, but there's a gigantic truck that says, I can do this, I can do this. And he has a gigantic truck, so he thinks he can. But we can start to see things are not going well. I don't think he's on the road anymore. No, it's definitely
Wow.
And it's
too
washed
bumpy for
out.
the
There it
road.
goes.
No.
That's right. There it goes.
Oh,
no.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, yeah. So it doesn't matter how big your truck is. Even if you're driving a semi-truck, please turn around and don't drown. Don't drive through floodwaters.
I did read he was he was okay. The driver was okay, even though he tipped his vehicle over. But
he was.
It's hard to see the road when there's a ton of water flowing over the road. Yeah.
It's water so strong. It doesn't take much to move big, heavy things like a semi-truck. So don't think you can do it in your Dodge Neon. Anywho.
1,000 gallons of petroleum is good too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that totally didn't spill into the water, I hope. All right. So another weather fool, we've got Brady that I hear has one.
Yeah, so my weather fool, I don't really think they're not really a fool. This video just kind of made me laugh. So this is
God.
a
It has a
meteorologist
cat in
in Sioux City, and she is doing the weather forecast with a cat in her arms, and the cat just kind of lounging. It's just kind of enjoying the forecast.
That's
That's
adorable.
great. That's
So yeah,
exciting.
this woman is just holding the cat, doing the forecast, and the cat's just kind of chilling there. Looks like it was maybe a little drugged out, maybe a little too much catnip, but it's having a good time.
All right,
It's hard to
Serena,
work the
who's
clicker.
next?
That's my weather fool.
Phil's done. Hey, I'm impressed with the ability to like hold a cat and work the clicker at the same
That's
time.
impressive, yeah.
MJ, what you got for weather fools?
All right, we got a couple listener contributed ones. This is from the live storm chasers. This is at a Home Depot, and I guess the fool is they're awfully close to, as you watch some sheet metal fly by and you watch some other things fly by during this storm. It's coming up. You kind of got to watch for it. But again, they're just standing probably at the big garage door while things kind of fly. Oh, here it comes. While things fly by. So not such a smart idea.
Oh, that's a lot
Right.
of debris.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of debris. And then from ADO, going back to the water thing where it always seems like it's water, from ABO Outdoors, they're in a Tesla and they're driving through, and you
Enlarge
can watch
that.
the water come over the.
Can you enlarge that?
I can try.
Expand the video. There you go.
I saw this.
And
the water just keeps coming over the hood at them, and they just keep driving right through it. And if we watch long enough, and maybe we'll get there, they drive out of it, so they make it. I don't know how, because that's really deep water, and I don't know how the water's not in the vehicle. But there you go.
Yeah,
electricity and water. Good.
Yeah, MJ, I read somewhere it was because the normal cars have a combustion engine, so when water gets in, it basically prevents the explosion. But in electric cars, there is no combustion. But I can't, help but believe the battery's got to be fried or something.
That can't be good, and apparently well sealed too.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, extremely.
So there you go.
Goodness. All right, great. Well, thank you, MJ. Phil, I hear you have multiple weatherfuls.
I've got a few. You had one of them. That good old semi truck tipping over in Arizona was classic. So I'm down to just only 5 tonight. So it's a slow night for me. But so the first one comes from Utah, and this is a vehicle on. Look at they're on the edge of these flash floodwaters in Utah.
Oh my God.
And they are right on the edge, and this water is moving incredibly fast.
Oh my God, I'll say.
And they're like in it. They're right on the edge, so they're not floating away yet. But we all know how flash floods can work, is it can come quickly. Oh. And these guys are right on the edge, so they're just a little too close.
Not smart.
That's so
aren't they backing up or getting out of their car? They're just like,
they're not moving either.
Fine. No.
Yeah. All right, next one. This is kind of fun. So this was a photo, and as you see it now, kind of interesting, right? It's a concert. It's a Garth Brooks concert. But when I click to expand the photo, you see all these people sitting in the stands. There's some starting to gather down on the floor for getting ready for the concert.
Must be early.
Oh. And when I enlarge the photo, you see this massive lightning bolt just outside the stadium. And all these people are just getting excited, getting ready to watch Garth Brooks. And
I want to see Garth, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So not good there. All right, next one. This is a video, a tornado footage from Pennsylvania. And these people are in their car. And they're stopped on a road and the tornado is right in front of them. Like literally it's crossing the road.
Debris everywhere.
Right in front of them. And so, folks, you have to be weather aware. Like, at least know if you're driving home from work that there might be some storms in the area. Keep your phone on you so you get the WIA alerts, all that stuff. But, yeah, this is just obviously way too close for anybody, let alone a bunch of people driving home from work.
I was going to say, possibly scarier. There's people closer to it than them.
Yeah. In front of them, right?
Who aren't backing up. They're just kind of chilling.
Yeah, not good. All right, another one. Those of you, Jen left, but those of you from Atlanta, here's a good one from an Atlanta Braves game. People in the stands, watching baseball. You can see they're playing baseball down at the bottom. And there's a massive lightning bolt just beyond the big video jumbotron, right? And of course, this is Major League Baseball, and this shouldn't surprise anybody at this point. I think they are the worst professional sport in continuing to go, because once the game starts, and this is for a lot of sports, once the game starts, it's in the hands of the officials or umpires, and they're not weather experts. They don't know what they're doing, but that's certainly a dangerous situation. And last but not least, here is a video, thunderstorm approaching. And we've got some roofers.
Roofers up on that. Oh boy.
Oh man.
Up putting shingles on a house, and there's storms coming in. You can see the winds kind of picking up a little bit. And apparently there were some more severe storms coming, and they're just cranking on a roof right now. So
gotta finish the job, Phil. Gotta finish the job.
Where I want to be.
Again, not weather aware, but those are my 5, Serena.
Oh man, safest place to be in a thunderstorm, on a roof. That's a good one. Well, if you want to take a look at these links and see these pictures and videos of our weather fools, check out episode 137 show notes for all the details.
Woo! Love this song, baby. All right. Now it's time for Brady's What Happens Next. Now, for those that is their first time watching this show or haven't heard this segment before, basically I'm going on the internet looking for a bunch of crazy weather videos, trying to keep it on theme, on season. I'm going to play maybe the first 5 to 10 seconds for the freaks and for you all. And I'm going to ask you guys what happens next. And I want you guys to guess. Put it on the chat for the freaks. Go ahead and shout it out. Let's first start off in, I believe this is in North Carolina. Let me make this video a little bit larger and don't look at the title here. I'm going to play it. And there's a water spout on the beach. Looks like there's some people on the beach as well. I'm going to pause it right here. What do you guys think happens next?
So the water, so it's kind of now it's kind of a land spout at this point, right? It's on the beach.
Point, yeah.
Yep, it's moved from the water onto the land. It's kind of kicking up some sand. I mean, it still looks
sand.
It still looks like kind of a land spout, pretty weak, right? What do you guys think?
I say we see a bunch of umbrellas start beach umbrellas floating in the sky.
Comes right at the camera.
I'm going to say a lightning strike.
Yep. Okay.
Somebody's
All
gonna
right.
get a kite and go flying.
Yeah, I think the kite. I think you're onto something there, Skip. I think you're onto something. All right, let's see what happens next. So now we see a close up. It's a full-fledged tornado. I mean, this thing is a beast. So usually you don't see water spouts come on land and turn into tornadoes, but this thing, I mean, this thing's bad. This thing is a bad, mean-looking tornado.
Huh.
So I wonder how many. I'm curious how many people were caught and they were watching that or wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pause it right here. You can kind of see there's people running.
People running.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
luckily sand is not a projectile, so that's good to know.
Yeah, and you can see there's a cop car on the beach right by it. Yeah, this was not good. So, all right.
Take the skin off though, right?
So next video here, I'm going to pause it right here. This is a picture of a boat in the water. Looks like there's some rain in the background. What do you guys think happens next?
You got multiple boats, a marina.
Yeah.
Once again, don't look.
Is it like a downburst maybe coming in?
Here, let me leave it like that. What do you guys think happens next? For those that didn't see the title,
big gust
I won't
comes
say.
in, tip the boat.
Okay. All right. Well, let's watch.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
Boom!
Oh, it hit
giant
the boat.
lightning strike hits literally the boat that's closest to the camera. You can hear the guy cussing in the camera. You can't hear it now, but it was crazy. It's just the biggest boom ever.
It makes sense. Look at the mast on that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Wow.
So I'm curious, what was this person filming or taking video of at the time? Like,
I don't know. I mean, my guess
it's a marina. There's no activity and it's gray. There's maybe it was lightning was happening and he didn't realize it would be that close.
Yeah, my guess is lightning was happening because it was raining. You can hear rain. I mean, that's just crazy. It's just a really close up lightning strike that you can just see on the camera. So
was there damage to the boat? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I don't think it's sea safe anymore at this point.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think the electronics are all fried. All right, I'm not going to zoom in on this one so you guys won't see the title. Let this one go for about a second. So there's a car driving along. It's raining pretty heavily. They're going their windshield wipers pretty. Doesn't look like the wind's kicking up too bad just yet. What do you guys think happens next?
It almost looks like it's got to be a lightning one.
This might have been my weather fool a couple episodes ago, Brady.
Oh, was it?
I'm going to just throw out that maybe that SUV gets hit by lightning.
Phil, I think you might be onto something here. So they're driving along.
I said it wasn't really a weather fool because it wasn't really their fault. They're just driving.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, lightning strikes.
And you just see like, I'm going to try and get a still here of this lightning because it goes right through the car into the ground.
Yes, it does.
And it's dead. I mean, that kills the car. Like I've never seen that before. It's probably happened to Skip 3 or 4 times, but for the rest of us.
Yeah, I've always wondered what would happen to a car because they say, "Oh, you got the rubber wheels, you're okay." But really, are you? Like, do you feel anything in the car? I don't know.
I've heard it's actually the metal cage, like that. It's like a Faraday cage around you, like the frame of the car, more so than the rubber wheels. But I don't know.
That's from the metal.
I wonder if
your windows have to be closed. Is that correct? Is that also true? Like, if you have open windows, do you lose that Faraday effect?
No, you don't, but they should be closed. I mean, that increases the danger a lot, but yeah, it is the metal skin.
Wow. Huh. Well, cool, guys. That is what happens next. We'll have all of those clips on your favorite podcast app in the show notes section. Just look for episode 137.
Send me a postcard, drop me a line.
You've got mail, baby, yeah.
Oh, yeah. we've got some mail. We got a couple of them today. Vince Welty checks in and says it's not a storm chase if you aren't finding out what the Stormfront Freaks hosts are drinking. And Vince has a picture along with this tweet showing them in the car with the Stormfront Freaks podcast dialed up on the entertainment console. So thank you, Vince. Cheers to you.
Cheers, Vince.
Yes.
And that may be all of the the viewer mail for today.
We lost MJ. We lost our
I'm just gonna bomb MJ with a bunch of mail next time from just random addresses. I'm just gonna tell all my friends just to write them letters, all that stuff.
How about I just leave? Right
there you go.
Mic drop.
So we'll pick up the next one here in 3, 2, 1. And of course, our friend Jay Bingham, Jay is Painting, checks out and says, shout out to MJ, or was it Maz? And I'm going to say this time it was Maz on the latest Stormfront Freaks episode, who slipped in the Caddyshack reference that no one else picked up on during Weather Fools. So that was, I kind of remember that he
it was, and that was your I don't think the heavy stuff's really hit us yet.
That's right.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Love that movie. That was great.
So thanks everyone for checking in. As always, you can always find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Look for the Stormfront Freaks, and you can email us to questions@stormfrontfreaks.com. That's the Freak Fan Box.
Very good. Well, hey, I think that just about does it, guys, for this episode of Stormfront Freaks podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening or watching the show. Before I get to and announce who our next guests are going to be, if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe or follow the Stormfront Freaks Network. That way you're going to get notified. You'll receive the latest episodes of our show and El Nino's. It'll be delivered right to your podcast player the moment it gets released. I also want to let everybody, anyone that cover this, anyone that drops a great written review on Apple Podcasts, and email me at phil@stormfrontfreaks.com to identify their review and give me an address. Okay, so if you do that, give us a great written review on Apple Podcasts. Then go ahead and email me, phil@stormfrontfreaks.com, and identify your reviewer name, because that's not always clear. And give me your address, and I'm going to get you our exclusive Ibreak for Storm stickers that also have our logo on them, so I'll send that out to you, anybody that does that. Also, visit patreon.com/stormfrontfreaks, and you can check out all the ways we can do more with you and how you can also help support the show, whether it's the live access to view and chat during our raw video recordings, exclusive merch. You can even join us and our guests in the green room. All you do is visit patreon.com/stormfrontfreaks to join the team. And thank you for supporting the show. And talk about a great show tonight. I do want to have a special thanks to our GOATs tonight, right? We talked about the Olympics, the greatest of all time. Tonight, Skip Talbot and Victor Gensini. You guys were great.
Awesome.
So Skip, thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back. That's what I was always shocked that you at least came back, so that was a good sign. But hey, our next episode, we're back in 2 weeks, recording live and raw for our Patreon members on Thursday, August 19th. We're going to have part 2 of our storm training series, talking with storm chasers Reed Timmer and Quincy Vagel. And we're going to talk about storm target forecasting within 24 hours now, right? As we get to the day of. That audio podcast will also be up and available the following Sunday. So for MJ, for Maz, Brady, Serena, Jen, who had to take off early, but also for Skip, who's still with us, I'm going to signal the all clear, and we'll catch you guys next time. So good night, everybody.
Peace.
Bye.
All right, Skip, once again, thank you so much, man. You were awesome. That was so good.
Yeah, happy to hang out. Always love chatting storms and chasing and forecasting anytime.
Cool. Dan, Angela, before he takes off, you guys got anything for Skip? We're good? Cool.
I'm good.
So,
How old's your son?
How old is he?
Yeah, he just turned 3, and it's way past his bedtime. So
Mine bedtime too.
Hey, that's good bonding time with Dad, man. Hanging out
Time
with Dad.
for sugar.
Cool. So we'll like I mentioned to Victor, Skip, we'll edit this and upload it on Sunday.
Great.
And I'll tag you just so you know it's out there. So
Awesome.
okay.
Thanks.
You're great. Thanks again, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks,
See you
Skip.
guys.
Thanks.
Skip.
See ya.
Good job.
We had it was a late show tonight. Huh?
I know. I got to
Hey,
fly,
Phil.
man.
Yes.
Since when has Dublin Dr. Pepper been an Oklahoma soft drink?
Dude, it's Thrillist.com, buddy. You take it up with them, dude. It says here
Dublin, Texas.
It says Oklahoma, Dublin Dr. Pepper. A variety of Dr. Pepper uses cane sugar, but you can still find it in soda fountains all over Oklahoma.
That is crazy.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
Can you still find it in Texas?
Yeah. Well, there's been a legal dispute with the recipe, but essentially you can still go to Dublin and get the Dublin drink.
Okay. Well, take it up with Thrillist.
Okay,
you know,
I
it's
will.
a joke anyway. It's have you ever seen those like they'll do images as well, like show the US and like most popular fast food restaurant. And I remember seeing one in Ohio, like some fast food pizza place that I'd never heard of. And I'm like, what? That's not the most popular one in Ohio. So it's all BS anyway, but makes for a fun game show.
Yes, it does.
So where are you heading tomorrow, Angela? Where's the end of your trip? Oh, we lost her.
Oh.
She's frozen.